Hi, I'm Tammy at All About Living, and today Randy and I are going to have hoagies. Just a simple steak, mushroom, and cheese hoagie. But to up our game a little bit and make dinner a whole dinner, we're going to make some ugly onions. And if you've never had ugly onions before, you are in for a treat. They are awesome. My Aunt Lizzie used to make them, and she taught me how to do it, and they are wonderful. So let's get started with the ingredients for the hoagie. You're going to need some hoagie rolls, some mushrooms, some steak seasoning, some pepperjack cheese, and some steak. And the steak, you can use whatever kind you have. This happens to be a sirloin that was under a pound, and it was like $5.99 a pound, so I paid less than $5 for it, which fits my criteria for having dinner that's under $10. So we're going to get started cutting this up, and I'll show you how to do that. Let's go ahead and cut that talon off, because we're not going to eat that. It's tough and grainy, and we don't want it. Alright, turn this back around where you can see, and I'm just going to cut against the grain, and I'm going to cut it really thin. Okay, now let's get that seasoned up. And all I'm going to do is just use some regular steak seasoning. Okay, and I'm going to just pretty liberally put that on there. Probably be a good tablespoon maybe, or a little more. And then we're just going to make sure that it's all coated. There we go. Okay, I'm using Great Value steak seasoning. It's really similar, I find, to like Montreal, but probably about half the price. But whatever kind you like, that's what kind of steak seasoning you use, because it's your steak and your kitchen. Okay, we're going to get this pan hot. I'm going to shoot for a medium-high flame. About right there, and we're going to get that pan nice and hot. Okay, my pan is really good and super hot, so I'm going to put a couple of tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil in there. Let's get our meat into that skillet. Hear that sizzle? That is exactly what you want. Now let's get those mushrooms. Okay, these mushrooms were in my freezer because I let them stay just a little too long in my fridge. So I'm just going to dump about 2/3 of them in there. Now, if you love mushrooms as much as we do, you can put as many as you want. All right, now at this point, it is entirely up to you whether you like rare, medium rare, or well done meat. Me, it almost as soon as it hit the pan, it started turning. So for me, I'm going to turn this off and just let it stay in that residual heat, and I will get a medium rare hoagie. Okay? And now I'm going to take that Pepperjack and I'm going to put it all over the top. And that again is your preference, how much ever cheese you want. That's how much cheese you put. And I'm going to let it melt with that residual heat. Let my meat get up to medium rare. And we're going to start on those ugly onions. Okay, before we get into the ingredients, I'm going to tell you why we're having ugly onions. I told Randy we were going to have the steak hoagies. And I was just going to do steak hoagies and french fries because that's quick, easy. It's Sunday afternoon and I just didn't want to cook. And he was like, well, if you're having a hoagie, can we have ugly onions? I'm like, okay. So we're going to have ugly onions. All right, to make your ugly onions, you're going to need onions. The recipe is for 2 large onions, but I'm going to use 3 because these aren't, to me, particularly large. So I'm going to get 3. You'll need a matchstick, 1 carrot, and then the recipe is actually for 5 or 6 green onions. Well, I didn't have any green onions, but I grow my own chives, and they will absolutely work. So if you have some chives and don't have green onions, they will substitute. Then you're going to need, for the batter, you're going to need flour, onion powder, garlic powder, arrowroot or cornstarch, whichever one you have, some baking powder, and a can of sparkling water. Believe it or not, that is the ingredient that pulls it all together. Okay, let's go ahead and move the onions out of the way so I can cut these chives. And you'll want to cut them really small. Okay, and you just need the green tops, not the white bottom, so we'll save that and use that for something else. Now we'll cut those onions. Okay, and y'all please don't forget not to throw your onion outsides and edges away. Don't put them in your freezer in a Ziploc bag and just keep adding to that bag. It makes the most beautiful broth. There's so many uses for it. And you bought it, you paid for it, why throw it in the trash? Alright, now we're going to take these onions and we're going to make half moons as thin, really thin, like 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch to 1/4. Slide that. Randy, you can stay out of my hoagie meat unless you don't want lunch tomorrow. Okay, now that our veggies are cut, I'm going to get a bag for my onions. Alright, see how easy this is? You just take those tops and bottoms and skins and just put them in a Ziploc, close it up, throw it in your freezer, and when it gets full, then you have all you need to make veggie broth, beautiful golden chicken broth or beef broth. Okay, we're going to set this cutting board up here out of the way. We're going to get our bowl and we're going to start adding ingredients. I'm going to need 1 cup of all-purpose flour. One tablespoon of onion powder. 1 teaspoon garlic powder. 4 tablespoons of arrowroot or cornstarch, whichever one you have. 2, 3, 4, and 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Then we're going to get all our dry ingredients incorporated. You just want to make sure that all your seasoning is all throughout that flour. And now we're going to start adding our sparkling water. And it does need to be sparkling water, just plain, not lemon flavored or anything, just plain sparkling water. And the amount you need is actually dependent upon your flour and whatever day you're making it. But what you're looking for is a fairly consistent soupy, not soupy, but a soft dough. And it does need to be cold, actually. It needs to be right out of the fridge. Like today, I may use it all. Okay, that's what we're looking for. Fairly loose batter. All right, now we're going to add our veggies. Okay, I think it might be easier for me to go ahead and lift that up and drop those chives. Yep, that was a lot better, rather than me make a total mess. And now you're going to need a good size, I prefer wood, but you need a good size spoon to mix these veggies, and you want to make sure that you coat all of your veggies all the way through with your batter. And you'll kind of want to break up those moons just a little bit. I mean, don't break your onions, just kind of loosen them up. And then just continue to roll them in that batter until everything's coated. Right now, I'm good and coated. I don't have any batter left laying on the bottom. It's all nice and incorporated. So we are going to come over here and get my pan hot, my oil hot. Okay, I'm going to light both my eyes because I'm using a fish cooker. And I'm gonna go for just like a medium-high flame on both, because between the two, my oil's gonna get plenty hot. I don't use vegetable oil for anything. I only use lard, butter, olive oil, maybe a little flaxseed oil. And the reason for that is they're not good for you. I mean, they're not. And I just refuse to use them. They don't work as well. I mean, when you put something in lard, it browns beautifully the first time. It's not like you have to use the oil 2 or 3 times before you can get really good browning. It does it right off rip. Okay, and you'll know when your grease is hot enough if it starts to fry a wooden spoon. So we are ready. All right, now the reason for your big spoon, besides the stirring, is it makes it perfect how big you want your patty to be. And what you're going to do is you're just going to drop that, just like that, off that spoon, and then you're not going to touch it until it's completely brown on the bottom. Okay, they're brown on the bottom now, and we're just going to give them a little flip. We're going to mash it a little bit to get it down in there. Give that one a little flip. Give it a little mash. These I shouldn't have to match. They were thin enough. There we go. Yeah, they're good. Just let them brown up on the other side. Okay, I've got my bread cut, and I'm just going to reach in here and pull up all that beef and cheese and drop it right in there. Try not to get it all over everything. Alright, see how nice and pretty and golden brown we are? And I'm not going to sit them directly on a plate or use paper towels. I'm going to sit them on a baking rack so that they just drain onto the plate, but they don't lose that crunch. Because that's what makes them awesome, is that crunch. I'm going to get me another set going. Alright, and to make those ugly onions even more spectacular is my horseradish sauce, my homemade horseradish sauce. This stuff is so yummy on so many things, but it is particularly good on these onions. Now, I have a link up there. Randy can put it in La La Land or something where I did show you how to do this. This is so special. Special, special. Wonderful stuff. Let me get me a spoon. And I'm going to get him a whole big little bowl, because he's going to dip and dip till his heart's content. Because he does love those ugly onions. And